Welcome to the live streaming worship service of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. I'm Bonnie McFarland, a member of the worship committee, and I will be one of your worship associates today. You will also hear the voices of Grace Pruce and Dinah Rowe. We invite you to worship with us with an open mind and an open heart. As we enter into sacred time, created by our presence and shared intent, I invite you to get comfortable, turn down your phones or other distracting devices. Make a conscious decision to set aside for this 1 hour the self-protective walls we all keep around our heart and our thoughts. Let us remember and explore together what has drawn us to this faith, or learn what this faith is about, and relax. Let the stresses of the outside world slip away as together we focus on this time together. And together we breathe. Although we are now a community connected largely by electronic means, one day we will be together again. Yet even now we are those seekers with the yearnings to learn, to understand, to make the world a better place, and with the same desire for fellowship. And so we are here seeking that living, interconnected web of which we are a part. Let go of the anxiety, the fears, the expectations of your own or others' making, and join us in this hour of beloved community. And so together we breathe. Our opening hymn this morning is "We Laugh, We Cry." Please rise in spirit and join us. And because we are Zooming this, nobody will know if you sing off key.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die. We dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild, but dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we shared with friends, they will linger on and on. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow, we have the gift to believe that peace within a living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
For our call to worship, read with me the mission statement of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Riverside. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Cathy Nicles is no stranger to UUCR. In the past, she was usually with us in a supportive role as the other half of Joan and Cathy. But recently, she has assumed a new role with us as speaker. Cathy holds a bachelor's degree in art and music history from Syracuse University and a master's of public administration in urban and community planning. She is currently living in Worcester, Massachusetts, with Joan Dardamus, her partner of 27 years, and Finley, their new cardigan Welsh Corgi puppy. About her sermon, Cathy said, "This presentation continues to explore compassion. The title refers to a personal experience that made me think about how incredibly important micro gestures of compassion can be. They are actions we can incorporate into our daily lives. On the macro level is the incorporation of compassion into systems."
Hi, I'm Grace, and there are a few announcements we would like to share. During the service, we will mention several website and email addresses and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all of this information, and it is available on our website. However, for those needing the information by auditory means, they will be announced verbally during the service. Chat time provides an opportunity to spend an hour talking among ourselves, usually beginning with the service, then wandering on to other topics. It's held on Zoom at 11:30. But to participate, you need a separate Zoom link. So please go to our website at uuchurchofriverside.org for the Zoom chat time link. In Riverside County and all of Southern California region, the ICU availability continues to be at 0.0%. At this time, Riverside County reports an average of 110.6 new cases per 100,000 per day, down from 148.4 as reported last Sunday. Riverside County is in phase 1B, which includes providing vaccines for those age 65 and older, along with specified others. Public health vaccination clinics have been set up, and many medical clinics have access to the vaccine. However, the demand is far greater than supply. To date, 149,079 doses have been administered in Riverside County. To register for the vaccine, go to the website for your county public health department, your medical provider, or ask your pharmacy. The monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every month by email and per request by postal mail. If you have something you would like covered or that you want to write, let Dinah know at ramblinrose22@yahoo.com or call or text her at area code 909-645-2885. If you haven't received the newsletter and would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact Dinah or the church office. On the Sunday of each month, we share with you the joys and concerns that we have received throughout the month. When we're all in the sanctuary, it's easy for people to be reminded by something someone else shared, like a concern for their cousin's welfare or the state of the world, or the joy they felt a few days earlier when they got good news or felt pleased about some particular thing. But now, when we ask you to send these thoughts to Dinah so we can share them with everyone later by Zoom, I understand how it gets forgotten. But consider this. How do you feel when you hear about another member who has fallen ill, or that someone shares your feelings about the state of things? Isn't that what helps us remember the feeling of being a community, even while at a distance? Your joys and your concerns are important to all of us. The next sharing of joys and concerns will be on February 7th, which is next Sunday. Please email or text your joys and concerns as they occur to you throughout the month to our Caring Network Coordinator, Dinah Rowe. Her email is ramblinrose22@yahoo.com. Or you can call or text her at 909-645-2885. We have two lightings of sacred flames. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. Let us acknowledge that we walk upon the traditional territories of the Maranga, the original people of this land who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. In honor of the Maranga people, we, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. The International Council of Unitarians and Universalists, or ICUU, distributes a new chalice lighting reading each month. Congregations worldwide are invited to use the reading for at least one worship service in the designated month. These words are offered by the Hungarian Unitarian Church in honor of the anniversary of the Edict of Torda. We light this chalice in remembrance of those who laid down the foundation of our communities in the spirit of freedom, love, and tolerance, to remember that true light will outshine darkness. Faith is the gift of God. The true signs of faith are an inner purity and love, and an honest life and good deeds. Love is the ultimate interpretation and completion of the law. According to Jesus, love is the plenitude of the law. Love is a royal commandment. Love is the true freedom which does not bear the bondage of fear. Love is the creative spirit of the world, the highest treasure of mankind. Quote by Francis David, founder of the Hungarian Unitarian Church, 16th century. Our next hymn is Spirit of Life. Please rise in spirit and join us. And now Dinah Rowe, our church treasurer, will speak with us about sharing our treasure.
Good morning. This portion of our service is how we fund all that we do to minister to and care for our congregation and our beloved historic church, and to ensure that when we are able to safely reopen again, we will be here to welcome you all back. A reminder that even though the church is not allowed to reopen at this time, our church expenses continue. Just a few of the expenses which are ongoing are the utilities and insurance and the administrator. Robert pays the bills and answers inquiries to the church, plus other things which come up on a daily basis. You can mail your pledge and donations to the church address. And again, please no cash. The church address is shown on the screen. We have Stater Brothers cards for your grocery shopping that also earns our church a percentage. Please contact me or the church office to purchase Stater cards. For those of you who have purchased Amazon gift cards, another way to help is when making purchases through Amazon, don't forget to go to smile.amazon.com. Be sure to have the smile and choose Universalist Unitarian Church as your charity. We receive 0.5% of your qualifying purchases, and by using an Amazon script card, we receive a percentage from both. There are also Best Buy cards available in the office, Lowe's, Office Depot, Smart and Final, plus the Staters cards. Please donate by whatever method works for you. Thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Our next hymn is From You I Receive. Please rise again in spirit and join us, and we'll sing through this 3 times. Thank you.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Add the Alleluias by Reverend Paul R. Beadle. The prayer that follows is a special one to me. It was written by Reverend Paul Beadle, who I remember fondly. He was a minister in our church from 2000 to 2002. Let us contemplate the Spirit together, Spirit of life and love, justice and peace. Day in and day out, weight weary tasks, burdens we lift again, worn paths we wear some more, want and means worn thin, and fatigue, pain and grief, coldness of heart, bitter and weary days, where we know desolation. How do we call forth hope when our hearts buried, sunken down? How do we dig out, rise up? What healing touch do we long for? What balm might we take and share? Come what may, O Spirit of life, may we keep a ray of light for our inward path, a living water in the depths of us, a cleansing breath at our core. May we keep them for ourselves and to share. May we call forth from each other vitality and tenacity. May love rest in us. May justice live through us. May we have the touch to call others back to life and love, justice and peace. May we sing back their songs and add the Alleluias in the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power. So may it be. Amen. Now let us enter into a moment of silence together. And now Cathy Nicles will speak to us on A Smile from a Stranger. Cathy?
Good morning. It's nice to see everybody. This is a continuation on, if you weren't here the last time I spoke, on different experiences I had had that had caused me to consider different things about compassion. And so this is another one exploring different compassion in different contexts. I wanted to start this morning with a quote from HH, the Dalai Lama. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. As Bonnie said, it's a smile from a stranger, and it was one of the incidences that happened to me quite a while ago, and is one of the things that makes me ask questions about compassion. So the story goes, oh, come on, it can't be all that bad. Startled and shaking off my self-absorption, I looked up to see the face of a woman with a radiant smile and twinkling eyes. I feel the smile go through my whole body. I smile, and blushing somewhat, I say, hi and thank you. And no, it's not that bad. Now, before the encounter and exchange, there is no way I did not feel and believe that indeed, yes, it really was that bad. The source of my self-absorption was my situation. Some months after I was released from the convalescent hospital where I was recovering and working on rehabbing my shattered leg, a product of my near fatal car accident, I was staying with a longtime friend in a curtained annex in her rather large kitchen after another longer time friend kicked me out of her house where I was paying rent. She felt that I was taking advantage of her. At that point in time, nobody, not even myself, knew that I did not just have a concussion, but a brain injury that left some deficits. That not knowing caused people to wonder, some judgmentally, why I hadn't picked myself up by my bootstraps. None of us knew someone had hidden my boots. I would say that that is compassion for someone who is on the street, a complete stranger. Why was this person moved to speak to me and say what she did? Not only was this compassion, but a call for me to appreciate what I had, where I was, right there, and be grateful. A gift given which allowed me to carry on. I was very depressed, and later pass it forward. Why is that? Well, I think I've made some progress since the last time we met about why that might happen, why somebody might do that, and why it might have such a profound effect. The why may be explained by what I was calling micro-compassion, acts of micro-compassion. In the psychological community and in the workplace, believe it or not, they're calling it microaggressions. No, they're micro affirmations to combat microaggressions. So talking about, remembering that this is kind of framed from workplace studies, a micro affirmation is a small acknowledgement of another person's value. It's a subtle act of inclusion and kindness that goes a long way when built into a company culture or even just one's everyday practice. That's from Braverly, a blog from June 18th, 2019. The discussion centers around microaggressions, powerful role in patterns of injustice, and are undetectable by the people not on the receiving end. Microaggressions breed lost confidence, unmet potential, and alienation. Can the inverse also be true? And I said, okay, here it is. That is, can intentional acts of microaffirmations, or as I was calling it before I knew somebody else was calling it something, micro acts of compassion, which foster inclusion, boost self-worth, and help achieve one's potential. Mary Rowe, a pioneer in our contemporary understanding of microaggressions, hypothesized that practicing microaffirmations, or again, what I call micro-compassion, might not only increase one's tendency to be universally respectful to others, but they also might be a step to counteracting the effects of bias, including racism, sexism, ableism, and ageism. If Rowe's hypothesis is correct, then microaffirmations are a powerful tool for good that anyone can use. And one of the other things that we were talking about last week, one of my questions was, you know, what kind of biochemical or brain functions allow us to be compassionate, and why some people seem not to be, or that one community seems like they do have compassion and another one doesn't, and why is that? So the power of self-compassion is not just an idea, it's very real and actually manifests in our bodies. When we soothe our own pain, we are tapping into the mammalian caregiving system. This is done by another researcher, Kristen Neff, and she's talking about compassion in the context of self-compassion, which is another thing that when you talk about compassion exercise or is something that's really important also, besides giving compassion to other people. If you start with yourself with the compassion, it's easier to be compassionate towards other people. So Kristen Neff has defined self-compassion as having three main interacting components: self-kindness, a sense of common humanity and mindfulness, self-kindness, a sense of common humanity and mindfulness. Self-kindness refers to the tendency to be caring and understanding with oneself rather than being harshly critical or judgmental. Common humanity involves recognizing that all humans are imperfect, fail, and make mistakes. It connects one's flawed condition to the shared human condition so that one can take greater perspective towards one's personal shortcomings and difficulties, which also probably comes into the concept of forgiveness, you know, to your, you must forgiving yourself and being able to forgive others. Mindfulness involves being aware of one's painful feelings in a clear and balanced manner so that one neither ignores or obsesses with disliked aspects of oneself or one's life. The power of self-compassion is not just an idea, it's very real and actually manifests in our body. So here we come to some of the chemical stuff. When we soothe our own pain, we are tapping into the mammalian caregiving system, which is what Kristen Neff calls it. And one important way the caregiving system works is by triggering the release of oxytocin. Thanks. Research indicates that increased levels of oxytocin strongly increases feelings of trust, calm, safety, generosity, and connectedness, and facilitates the ability to feel warmth and compassion for ourselves. Neff's research suggests that Neff's research suggests that self-compassion may be a very powerful trigger for the release of oxytocin. On the other hand, so you've got the self-compassion, and then on the other hand, self-criticism. So on the other hand, self-criticism appears to have a very different effect on our body. The amygdala is the oldest part of the brain and is designed to quickly detect threats in the environment. When we experience a threatening situation, the fight or flight response is triggered. The amygdala sends signals that increase blood pressure, adrenaline, and the hormone cortisol, mobilizing the strength and energy needed to confront or avoid a threat. Recent research shows that oxytocin decreases cortisol levels. Physical touch releases oxytocin, reduces cortisol, and calms cardiovascular stress. So this would be an easy way to provide self-compassion for yourself, either in hugging, if you're hugging yourself, if you're not maybe out in public, because people might, I don't know, you may feel uncomfortable, or a way to just kind of fold your hands, or maybe just slightly stroke like the inside of your thumb and your forefinger or something like that. Because just the act of a touch releases the oxytocin. So that would be an easy way to actually practice self-compassion for yourself, and be able to do it frequently if if you have a lot of stress and anxiety. Now, this next part, I also brought up my question about wealth and rich people, and if there is some kind of different biochemistry around having a lot of money, and that was brought upon from my story about the homeless woman that I had a kind of a friendship with in Los Angeles in my first story. And so this one I'm going to read because I'm going to be honest with everybody. I have to say that I woke up this morning without a full presentation done. Last night I hit a writing block, so I was thinking while I was having coffee this morning to reintroduce some of the Ubuntu teachings from the last time and some other readings to lift up the possibilities of change that look much more possible with this administration. Since the last time we met, we've got all kinds of new things happening. And these writings are more eloquent and on point than I could say this day. But I do say that there's hope, there's possibilities, and that we just have to keep doing the work. So keeping that in mind, that I had a mental block and was panicked. There's a gentleman from UC Berkeley, Dacher Keltner, who his research focuses on the effect that wealth has on people's generosity and self-connectedness. And so when I was helping Debbie, off and on, the woman that I knew from Los Angeles who was homeless, I noticed that the people getting onto the freeway was they would give money to somebody if they were like one of the gardeners, in the area with, a pickup truck and lots of stuff in the back of their truck. And then if there was like a very expensive sports car with tinted windows so dark that you couldn't see if anybody was in there, could not speed away fast enough. And usually the gardeners had their windows rolled down and they would talk to the people. So that's what was on my mind when I was thinking about, is there a difference? So some of this is not, his studies are not necessarily about biochemistry or brain chemistry, but other factors. So this is one of the things he says. Wealthy people give more, they're asked, most of us think that wealthy people are more generous. Are they? And Mr. Keltner says, wealthy people give more money to charity because they have more money to give. But studies show that middle class and poorer people give higher proportions of their money to charity. In our own research, when we're given volunteers of different income levels, just $10, they could share with a stranger. Lower income people give more. By now, we've done several studies that look at how your wealth, education, and prestige of your career or family predict generosity. And the results are consistent. Poorer people assist other people more than wealthy people. And the interviewer says, that's counterintuitive. What's your theory as to why? And Mr. Keltner says, when you lack institutional support, when you face threats in life, the only way to survive in your environment is to connect with other people. You reach out to people more, you form strong social ties, you need them and they need you. When you're poor, you're helping someone get to work if their car broke down, or looking after their child while they run to the store. And they're doing the same for you. Humans have this wonderful ability to bond in the face of threat. That was the foundation of our theory. Let's see, some of the physiological stuff around that was, they've done studies where we measure activity in the vagus nerve, which extends from our brain stems into our abdomens. This nerve is the physiological nexus with compassion. When it's active, most of us feel warm expansion, the feeling we get when we moved emotionally, and the more your vagus nerve fires, the more compassion you feel. In one study, we showed undergraduate students from lower class backgrounds had a high vagus nerve response, but we didn't get much response at all in upper class students. In fact, now he's doing these studies with Berkeley students, so you've got a range of students. In fact, in every study we've done, poorer people show a strongest vagus nerve response to me. That's tough proof. And then they go, interviewer says, but don't wealthier people need connections too? But he talks about the very different kinds of support support that rich people or upper class people have compared to maybe because of their social status and the wealth, the circles of people and who they interact with are, they if you had a Venn diagram, they wouldn't overlap, is what he's saying. So for neighborhoods, but we lose, ironically, is exposure to suffering. We don't learn how to handle people in need. That's all the more true in the United States, which is very segregated by class. Wealthier upper middle class kids go to well-to-do schools, well-to-do colleges, live in well-to-do neighborhoods, and get well-to-do jobs. They just don't see the rest of the world. And part of the reason why I thought this was important was because of the last 4 years and people asking, what's going on and why are people so, non-responsive to people in need. And there's actual reasons for that. Bonnie, where am I timing out? Can you tell me? Let's see, 154. Okay.
Time. Go ahead and finish.
Okay. So I thought that was interesting. And he does mention the fact that he really gets a lot of flack from people about that study. And if he's actually living in Berkeley, you would know that, he talks about Silicon Valley and, how very, very well to do a majority of the people are, and they really don't like what his findings have been. So I wanted to do another quote: "No acts of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted," and that's from Aesop. And then what I had wanted to do is read the story from the last time about the anthropologist who was he was doing studies of civil society in different African tribes that had as one of their central values was the concept of Ubuntu. So the story was an anthropologist invited children from an African tribe to play a game. He placed a bowl filled with sweet fruit by a tree. He addressed the children saying, "The one who gets to the tree first will be rewarded with all of the sweet fruits." When he signaled the children to start the race, they locked their hands together and ran towards the tree. They sat down at the tree together and shared the fruit. The astonished anthropologist asked the children why they had run together when each one of them had the opportunity to have all of the fruit for themselves. The children replied, "Ubuntu." Sad. Ubuntu means I exist because we exist. And I think I probably need to wind things up. And excuse me, I've got the last part here. Another one of the things that I think we need to keep in mind is that things are hard. We don't know where things are going right now. We get glimmers of the fact that there may be opportunities to finally get a lot of movement and progressive issues going, and for actually to have more maybe compassion and people understanding that that if you are in need, that there shouldn't be a judgment on that. And so I wanted to end with Arundhati Roy, who is an Indian poet and writes novels, and also is very political and writes political around an analysis of political events. So this was her quote. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. I want to thank everybody who has shown up, and I hope that you were able to find something that maybe helps you answer a question, or makes you feel better, or gives you hope possibly in some of the questions that you have. So thank you very much. UU Riverside, it's good to see people.
Thank you, Cathy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Our closing hymn is Blue Boat Home.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say,
For our benediction, please close your eyes and reach out to each other in your thoughts. Feel the connection between us, the interconnected web, joining us as a community, a church family. Our benediction is a loving a responsible action by Reverend Dr. Robert F. Kaufman. We have come together to share our deepest concerns, speaking and singing words of inspiration and hope. We have committed ourselves to do what we can to ease the burdens of those who suffer, to stand for decency and compassion. We have pledged to work for a more wholesome environment for us and for all the generations that will follow. But these are just words. The hymns we sing are just songs. All our convert them all into loving and responsible action throughout the week. Then and only then will this morning become what we want it to be, a time of worship. Amen, shalom, and blessed be. Thank you, Cathy Nicles, for sharing your valuable time and insight with all of us at UUCR. It is sincerely appreciated, and we hope you will visit us again. I hope everyone on this live Zoom service can stay with us following the next slide for 2 slides for a short period of discussion with our speaker. This will be included on the video that is posted on our Facebook and YouTube platforms. And here we are.
Thank you, Cathy. Oops, I'm still muted, aren't I? All right,
Linda, you're unmuted.
there I go. There we go. Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Cathy. I really like the aspect of
Thank you.
physical touch and hugging and that sort of thing. I like that part of your sermon.
Thank you. I thought, well, I sometimes think that things are like really complicated, and that, if you're trying to do something, to change something, that it has to be like a big thing, And as I've gotten older, I find actually, sometimes it's so simple that it's embarrassing, it's, and so I thought, I have quite a bit of friends who have really heavy duty social anxiety, and I mean, really bad, and kind of debilitating. And I thought, well, if some of them knew about this, you could just, maybe do this, even, and you might lose some of the anxiety. So thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Cathy, I really like that too. I take a moment whenever I use hand sanitizer. I just kind of like do that, which is a lot right now, but I just kind of do that. I just kind of like feel my hands and just like be kind of present just for a sec. Even if I'm like in line at the grocery store or whatever, just take that moment.
Yeah, I think that especially when sanitizer on, we're having a different kind of anxiety that we're, so I think that's a good thing. I mean, it could be, that could also be an act of, when they say, what are you grateful for? That might be a way to say, I'm grateful for the fact that I have sanitizer this time, and you know, and you know, I'm still here, and you know, and actually maybe even send out prayers if there's, you know, people that you think about, because I think I'm not a consistent person. So, you know, it's like a lot of times when you do a practice, they say, oh, every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, and I'm like, that is a disaster. You know, that's going to be a failure. I usually can only do about the same thing 3 times a week, basically, to be anywhere near consistent. And other than that, it just seems, it takes over. It just takes over everything. I feel like it gets in the way of everything else that I have to do. So 3 times is usually, you know, so thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, Kathy, good service. Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, I like that idea of what's a good word for it? I like that idea of just like, I don't know. I don't know. The word I use is grateful, but I call it just everything's gravy on top, right? So in other words, I have a baseline. Whatever
Yes.
my baseline is, if I wake up, that's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Then everything else is just gravy on top, right? So if I get like an extra dollar, then that's the best day ever, right? Because the day in which I get a dollar is better than the day where I get nothing, right? So,
Right.
Yeah, and then like on the consistency part, I think it's just like I do what I call stay above water, basically, right? So sometimes, like, if I don't feel like I want to be grateful that day, then I just do the minimum of what I can be grateful for. When I really don't want to be grateful, I'll just make up some sorry excuse like, "Oh, I'm glad I'm alive." So.
Well, that sounds pretty healthy, actually. You know, I mean, that sounds like a good practice, because you're being aware of what your energy level is or something. You're going, you know, I just don't think it's a good idea to, you know, you run a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, if your lungs don't feel good on a certain day, and it's cold, you go, well, you know, I don't know, maybe I could just, you know, run a little further tomorrow if my lungs are feeling better, you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's typically what I think people should try to do in general is like, if you're feeling like really crappy, I'll just say like, well, okay, let's just try to do a couple more minutes, then let's do 1 more minute. It's supposed to be positive, like, well, at least I still have my clothes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know how that goes. Especially, you know, as I've gotten older, I was a really, really active person, and with my accident that I got, it kind of killed some of the stuff that I used to be able to do. And now that I'm aging, I'm like, oh my God, here's another level of that, having to forgive myself and going, okay, so what can I do today? You know, so yeah, absolutely.
The worst one is like, if it gets so terrible, I'll just say, well, at least I'm not dead.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I could be dead.
That's right. My partner and I always go, first rule, don't die. And we say, oh, well, 6 feet above ground, you know? Hello. Anybody else?
I have something.
Hi.
So, hi, thank you for your service.
Thank
I
you.
think what's also related is that during these COVID times, there's a lot less physical touch and interaction going on now. And I think people are trying to find new ways of reaching out, because we can hug much less. We don't shake hands. We might have to come up with new ways of connecting. So I find that interesting.
Hello,
Hi, Tom.
Hello,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Thomas. Yes.
Okay, I have a question for Kathy.
Hello.
You and your partner say you have a cardigan Welsh Corgi, and Did you buy that corgi from Lori Frost?
Well, we're in Massachusetts,
Did you buy it?
and the person that we got the corgi from is in the capital area of Albany, New York, which we got when we got a puppy from her when we were living in upstate New York. 2006. So we drove back towards the border and had to do a COVID restricted, transaction. So we picked up the puppy in Lee, Massachusetts, and she drove in from New York. So he's in I think he's in the, Joan's looking for him so you can see him. I think he's in the, isn't he in there? No. Okay, over there? I don't know where he's at. All right, Joan can't find him.
Can you see mine there?
No. You have a puppy there?
Yeah. If you
Oh, there.
So she's a cardigan Welsh corgi too. And
Yeah, aren't they the best?
she's my significant other. She can't divorce me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's over here. I can't get
Oh, Joan can't get to him.
Has he got a red or a?
What is he, a tribe? Is she a she or a he?
Yes, a she.
Is she a tri-colored? The black and the, oh no, it's a merle.
We got a merle.
Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness. Does she has brown eyes though, right? Not blue?
No, she's genetically confused. She has one cream colored eye and the other was darker.
Yeah, Rory's got, not Rory, I'm sorry, Finley. He's what, almost 4 months now?
November, December, January. He's coming up to 3 months. He's 2.5 months.
He's coming up to 3 months, but he's a little bruiser. He's just like a little tank. And he's got the merle coloring more so in the back. And then the shoulders and everything is white. And he's what they call the mismarked, if you wanted to show him. He's got the one side where his eye is, it's all white. So, and he has blue eyes, but he's just a little tank and he's not afraid of anything. So he's proving to be quite a challenge, parenting him.
But he's completely unconscious.
Well, each dog I've had, different breeds have independent. We go for a walk and I want to walk and she wants to stop and investigate things and she picks up terrible things and brings them home.
Yeah. We found that when we talked to other corgi owners, especially Cardis, the worse that something smells, the more attractive it is. and
Being a dog.
and yeah.
They make very poor culinary.
Yeah, Joan says they make very poor culinary choices. There she is. Pretty girl. Look at you. Look at you. And Joan says Cardis make poor culinary choices. And the other thing is if you're thinking about doing a mediation or negotiation kind of certificate, get a corgi, because you will be so upper level negotiator by the time you've got a corgi, because you have to negotiate with them. Don't you think, Thomas?
Well, Katie was a broodmare, and her last litter, she had 9 puppies.
Oh my God.
And I think that breeders have a brooder bitch like this, and they get a couple of litters off, and then they sell them off and go to a younger bitch. And so anyway, got the sell off, and so. But anyway, she's a little over 10 years old now, and she's my company as I live semi alone.
Well, I got to tell you, Thomas, it looks like she's living the life over there.
Indeed, she's well loved and well cared for.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing her with
just to add.
Hmm?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna get back to the sermon. I think also another thing when you're trying to be grateful, I think that it's important to realize that it goes in a cycle, right? It's not gonna go like this all the time. You're gonna go up, and then you're gonna go down, then you go up, then you go down. Whenever I realize I have a high point, I'm gonna realize I'm gonna get a low point. Low points.
Absolutely.
Oh, he's right under you.
Oh, he's right under me now.
He heard us talk about it.
I think that's yeah. Come here.
The other thing that I think I've noticed, I thought it was interesting that you said that the researcher thought it was counterintuitive that people who are more well off are less likely to be more compassionate. But I think a lot of people do notice that trend, and I think people. Something that I've seen is people who will think that if they become less compassionate, that will mean that they get more money.
Yes.
But of course that tends not to work out for them.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting observation. I'm not used to do public speaking. For a long time, I've kind of kept, my thoughts to myself, and so this is it makes me a little nervous doing this, because sometimes I feel like I don't always. I sometimes say things that might be a little controversial. So. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. It makes me feel a little less stressed.
Cathy, you're in a UU church.
well, yes.
In California.
Yes. There he is, Thomas.
Oh my goodness.
Look at the eye.
Oh, adorable.
He goes, why did you wake me up?
Look, she's a lot whiter than my corgi.
Yeah. Boy, he's a little boy, aren't you? You're a little boy.
You talked about gratitudes, which there's been a lot of research on doing a daily practice of gratitudes, and it's psychologically it's very beneficial. And when I went through a period of severe depression, I that's one of the things that I worked on, and it was very helpful. But I recently heard someone who's written a book on doing something that is somewhat similar but not quite the same thing, and it's just I'm really loving it. It's on it's on keeping a journal of joys and delights. And these are little tiny things. These are like what you're talking about micro joys and delights. So even if you're having a lousy day, if you're paying attention and looking for them, there can be, and for me, there are usually things in nature.
Right.
Not always. So it might be, one day I was leaving the house, and I started out the front door, and as I went to close the door, I looked down, and it looked like there was a little caterpillar trying to get in my house. So I reached down to try and pick it up, and it didn't look like a normal caterpillar. And it turned out that it wasn't. It was a little piece off of a succulent that I have.
Oh.
And it was the same, but it had the same configuration. It looked like it was like it was moving because it was rippled, and it had these little pieces on the front of it that looked like it would be the antennas, and feelers. And it was just a momentary delight there that this piece of my plant looked like a caterpillar.
Right.
And, it was just this little tiny moment of, oh, isn't that neat, and that normally I would just kind of go, oh, that's cute, and forget about, but because I was looking for it, I can recall it and bring back that little tiny moment of pleasure. And then there was one other one that comes to mind recently. Was horrible, and I hadn't it was growing out, and it was just horrible. And so I pulled it back, and I without looking in the mirror, because I do this all the time, put it in French braid going down the back. And I went to the store, and a woman came up behind me, and she said, oh, I love your hair. But to start paying attention to those little tiny things.
Yeah.
That normally would it would be there, and then it's gone. So.
Yeah, I really, obviously I really, there was something really important to me about that interaction with that woman. Yeah, I must have been really feeling sorry for myself, because I'm surprised she stopped. And she just said, oh, come on, is it really that bad? And I'd and got kind of embarrassed. And, but I've always remembered that. Experimenting with that kind of thing, because I thought it made me feel better. It helped me really get through the recovery. And it's like one of those things that is in my, in my Rolodex or whatever, that I'll bring it up and think, okay, Kath, yeah, are you walking around like that? And, there's been people that I see out on the street here in the neighborhood, and they look like really grumpy or kind of mean. And I found I just would nod as they're going by and say hello or good morning. And all of a sudden, a lot of times they'll stop and they'll turn around, and then, when you just say hello, sometimes this big smile will come, and the bigger the guy and the grumpier and meaner, the bigger the smile, and he just lights up, and you just kind of go, wow, so it's when I had that interaction, I was living in Santa Monica, and it was different times because, but it was, what was it, 91 or 92. And, Santa Monica has quite a well-developed homeless population, at least they used to. And I was near one of the, actually near one of the parks that actually could have been at the time really dangerous, but we were very lucky. There was an old clock tower in there or something. And when we had a really bad earthquake that year, it was I can't remember which one it was, but the steeple on that thing fell, and that's where a lot of the homeless people were staying. And luckily nobody got hurt. But I had all kinds of very interesting, consistently interesting interactions with folks. And I kid people that I must have some kind of a neon sign on there that, you know, flashes off and on, like, you know, talk to her, you know. I was on my way to get some earrings, and I was on before work. And these two guys walked up to me and they said, why are you in such a hurry? And I said, well, I'm going to have to be at work. And they said, well, come over here and talk to us. And they went and they bought a newspaper, you know, which I know I was not very, sometimes I didn't have any money at all. So, you know, I was like, wow, okay, they're going to buy, they laid it out on a windowsill and said, here, you know, sit, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting the earrings today, that's for sure. So which is, you know, and one guy sat on one side and one guy sat on the other side, and they wanted to tell me their story. And so they talked about them meeting, and they banded together because they're a little bit older and they were out on the street. And finally, you know, after they kind of, you know, lost a little steam, I said, you know, you guys, I'm, you know, very appreciative of you, you know, telling me your story, you know, gifting me your story. And I never saw those two again. And they supposedly that's, you know, where they were hanging out. So, you know, I still sometimes think about the people like Debbie that I met downtown, and I think, I wonder if they're still around, you know, how they're doing, you know?
I think also on the topic of gratitude, the reverse you can do is also think about the worst possible thing that could possibly happen. So I have two different strategies I like to do.
Yeah.
One's gravy's on top. The reverse is whatever I have, I think about the worst possible thing this person could possibly do to me. So when it happens, I'm not surprised by it. I've already pre-prepared in advance, right? So in other words, if I go to my boss and say, everything's good right now, right? Well, I don't want to be in the situation in which I have the expectation that it will always be good, right? So I automatically assume I'm going to get fired from this job. I assume that this relationship will not last. I assume everything will go horribly wrong because I'm just used to thinking like that all the time. I assume everything will go horribly wrong, so nothing can catch me off guard. In that sense, I'm grateful because if nothing does go wrong, then I'm already prepared for doomsday, right? I always like to say I'm preparing for doomsday. I'm preparing for the apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, things do change, you know, and I think one of the reasons why, I don't know, that one of the things that it changing does is it gives you something to compare. You know, you can, because if it was good all the time, you would just, you know, you wouldn't know how good it might be. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's good to be able to have that comparison where you're going, well, you know, this is a lot better than I thought, you know, and I'm in a lot better place. Yeah, you know, I think, I don't know. I'm running out of.
I just think it helps. It just helps like keep your mind in perspective because it's like, well, if I'm gonna be broke, could I get more broke, right? So if I know I've hit the bottom, then I know I'm at the bottom of the valley, or maybe it could get a little deeper, but then I could dig my way out again, right? But then if I'm at the peak, I'm like, well, I need to assume the worst case scenario. I need to assume everything's gonna go to hell. Everything's gonna burn down. There's gonna be a zombie apocalypse. Just pack all my weapons and my guns and my food in my shelter. So if it does happen, if not, then I'll wait for the next apocalypse. So.
Yeah, yeah, you'll be ready, right? Yeah. Thank you, Drew.
Hey, Drew, did you change the, what is that called? The tapestry in your room?
Did you?
Is that your room? Can you hear me?
Who are you talking to?
You, Drew, it's Grace.
Oh.
Did you change your
Oh
tapestry?
yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
you replaced your
Yeah.
light, right?
Oh no, it's still there.
Oh, it's still there. We like how that
It's still
wave, we like how that wave is like crashing over your door.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I'm getting another one. I just
It looks good.
I'm trying not to spend. So.
Oh, okay.
Hey, hey guys.
Oh.
Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna be you know how you guys were like sharing your dogs and stuff?
Yeah.
I have something that I value a lot, and it's not a dog or something, but I still find beauty in these animals. And I think they're very cute, and I think that people need to start treating them right. And these are reptiles, and this is my bearded dragon Gizmo.
Oh yeah, bearded dragons are wonderful.
I love him. He's beautiful, and he doesn't cause me any trouble. He's a very peaceful person.
I used to when I was young, I liked reptiles, and we're talking 4th, 5th grade, and one of the ones that I had was what they called a racer snake. And she was really beautiful and very sweet. And I used to bring her to school with me and carry her in my sweater. And then most of my friends were boys. And so they liked it because I'd go in the bathroom and all the girls would come running out, and they thought that was just a hoot. So, but she was wonderful. And I had quite a number of lizards too. And they're just really wonderful, wonderful beings. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, it has a name. His name is Gizmo. I got it from the movie Gremlins.
Yeah, yeah. So you can't feed him after midnight, right?
Yeah, I can't feed him after midnight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the reason I show my bearded dragon is because I am grateful that he's around and that he is able to be still alive because I got him 6 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Maybe since bearded dragons live quite some time, like I'm talking like medium-sized dog years, 15 to 17 years old. They live to pretty old age. I don't think 9 years will be too much of a struggle because by then, like by 9 years, I'll be like out of college when I'm 24, and then I'm off to Tokyo, where I'll be.
You're gonna go to Tokyo. Well, I noticed the kanji at the bottom here.
Our names in kanji.
Oh, so konnichiwa, ikaga desu ka?
Or I think you should say it in a different way.
Yes.
Since you're
Here,
since you're like
participate.
since you're like one of the elders to say it formally, I should say Ohayo gozaimasu.
Yes. Or
Okay,
ohayo gozaimashita.
Derek Desu.
Nay?
Ohayo gozaimashita is past tense.
Yeah.
So if we're at 12, that'll work.
Yeah. Right?
I'm still learning, okay? I think that by the time 9 years passes, I'll be pretty knowledgeable in Japanese.
I think that's brilliant. I was a bad girl when I was taking Japanese, and I went skiing and missed about 2 weeks, and that all my writing is like I didn't get those lessons, but I do remember that was like what 40 40 something years ago. So I've forgotten quite a bit, but I loved Japanese. I loved it. So, and I wanted to go to Japan, but I haven't made it yet. So I wish for you, you know, and your friend and your dragon to be able to go to Tokyo.
Yeah, it's
What got you interested in Japan, Jeremy?
yeah, it's in the what got me interested.
Mhm.
I like the culture of Japan. Like, I think that the way it's built and the way it is, like all the places, it's very nice there. It's safe there, very safe. Crime rate in Japan is very minimum, and when something happens, serious crime is kept to a very minimum. Gun violence is also kept to a minimum, and that's a problem that America has had for quite a long time. It's also very clean. In fact, when people go to Japan, everyone says it's so clean, and that the cities are so clean that you can walk barefoot on the streets, and that it will still be clean because there's people who will clean the place up because there's that's another thing. The people are nice, and that the country is built on respect, and I find that very valuable. They have a very deep and a very deep and knowledgeable way of thinking, and that their history is a very ancient one.
Yeah.
And that is still preserved today. That's what got me interested in Japan. Also that, and when I'm in Japan, I'm gonna start getting into directing and screenwriting, so I can
great. Nice.
I can make my own horror movies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, there's a horror film that I thought was really interesting, but it was not Japanese, although you know it had hopping, what was it? Vampires?
No, hopping zombies.
Hopping zombies. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was so funny because, you know, in the genre of zombies, it was like totally different. And so my partner and I were like laughing and stuff. And she talked to a friend at a seminary, and they were giggling and laughing. She goes, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh my God, yeah." So,
Zombieland?
What, Zombieland?
No, it wasn't Zombieland.
Hang on.
I don't remember the name, but in the mythology, people die and then they become zombies, and if they stay zombies, they eventually become vampires.
Yeah.
That was how it worked.
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah, I've never seen the movie.
Oh.
The recent movies I've seen are well, I mean, I remember seeing a movie like back in 2019 in theaters. Like, it's been so long since I've been in theaters, but I saw a movie with my dad called Us, and before that, Get Out. Those movies are beautifully written. And
yes.
I think that everything about the movies is so complex and has a much deeper meaning behind it, and that's what I love about horror movies. Some of the horror movies, you have to turn your brain off to watch it, and then the other ones are so intelligent and have such a deep meaning behind it, is that it's hard to miss all that. And you really need to give kudos to the people who wrote the film, because, you know, the way that they write the film, it's so beautiful. Those movies, Get Out and Us, or like the movies Hereditary and Midsommar, the directors, they're almost like the new Stanley Kubricks. They have an intelligent piece of mind that allows them to beautifully capture their movie story-wise, and, you know, the way that they display the movie, the imagery and everything is so artful.
Have you ever seen the movie, what is it? Gods and Monsters?
Gods and Monsters, yeah.
Gods and Monsters. It's about the guy who wrote
no, didn't write it. He directed.
The guy that directed Frankenstein?
1932 Frankenstein.
1932 Frankenstein. And it's about his life. And what was interesting is he was a gay man. And so it was very, very early on. And what you realized watching that was he was Frankenstein.
He was a monster.
He was the monster, you know, especially in a cultural context. And so that got my partner Joan thinking about othering, the other, that a lot of times horror films are a story about the other, like in what, the 30s and 40s, a lot of the horror films were of Eastern Europeans, because that was for reasons historically, they were considered a threat. You know,
They were scary.
they were
foreign.
yeah, they were scary because, people weren't familiar with the culture. And so that would be interesting if you start to see stuff like that.
Excuse me for a minute.
Yeah.
For a little bit of church business here. I just posted this to Jeremy, but if Jeremy, if your mother or father are present, and if it's
I'm mom
okay.
and I'm right here.
You guys
Hi.
That's okay.
post the church
Post
live
this
video with
on,
us in it?
let me explain this online here. We post this on our YouTube and Facebook page platforms. Is this okay if we include this part with Jeremy in it since he's a minor?
Yes, I consent.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay.
Oh, my name isn't Jeremy, it's Jared.
Jared.
Oh, Jared, okay.
The kanji is Jeremiah.
Yeah,
That's
Jeremiah.
my other kiddo.
Well, I mean,
he did it. They're both into.
It's our names in kanji.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
what was his name? Jared?
Jeremiah.
Jared?
Jeremiah.
I'm Jared and it's Jeremiah. Me and Jeremiah share a lot of the same interests, especially with when it comes to like movies and stuff. But one of the biggest differences is that Jeremiah is a big, as other people call it, a big weeb. Jeremiah is into a lot of anime stuff. And don't get me wrong, anime stuff is pretty good, but I haven't seen a lot of anime TV shows. A lot of the anime stuff I've seen is like movies. Like, have you ever heard of like Spirited Away or
Yes. Yeah.
stuff like that? I've seen stuff like that, like anime movies. That's what I'm more interested in. A lot of the earlier anime movies are quite beautiful, but I haven't seen a lot of anime TV shows. So
Yeah.
So your name is a combination of yours and your friend, you said, or
I'm a cousin.
your cousin? Oh, okay.
Yeah, my cousin, he's in his room right now. I don't know what he's doing. He's probably drawing something.
And your cousin's name is Jeremiah?
Yeah, Jeremiah.
Okay. And your name is?
Jared. A lot of people get me and Jeremiah mixed up. They say, "Oh, are you brothers?" And I have to tell them, "No, he's my cousin." I remember one of them telling me, "I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were. I didn't know that you were black or that you were African American." And I said, "No, not really. I'm not really related to African American stuff. Just because my cousin Jeremiah is that he's black doesn't mean I am. But that's okay. A lot of people get a lot of things mixed up. Just like I'm not Japanese or anything in any way. I'm just obsessed with the culture. I'm actually a Mexican European person, and the thing is, a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you're not Mexican. You know, you're pure white." And usually I say, "No, my grandpa is literally from Mexico," and they don't believe me. You know, and that's the thing. A lot of the stuff has to do with race. People don't believe other people because of the color of their skin.
Mm-hmm.
But really, we have a lot of ancestry and stuff that people think that, whoa, that doesn't look like them at all.
Yeah.
But yes, my mom says it's okay to include this part of the YouTube church service. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for jumping on it here, and I've enjoyed talking with you. My best friend in high school was third generation Japanese, and we would bowl together. So I ended up in Gardena being the only Hakujin. So they would all kid me and tell me that, I was an egg, white on the outside, yellow on the inside, instead of like bananas, and so we would, so that's, I'm still very good friends with her.
She's a DRE at a different UU.
Yeah, she's a DRE at another UU down in Long Beach. So anyway, so yeah, that's most of the, yeah. And then and she was half Okinawan. When we went to Hawaii, there was a festival for the different prefectures where everybody was from. And so we took a picture, all the cousins went and took a picture with the Okinawan hat and dress, and to take back to Naomi's grandmother. And so so we took it back, and she's looking at it and she's going, hey, yeah, and pointing to everybody. And then she looks at sees my face, and she goes, oh, hey, and she starts laughing at me and stuff. So I always had a lot of affinity, for Japanese things, and then learning about Okinawa and stuff. I kind of miss it, but and I can't. My Japanese is horrible now, so. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good luck to you getting to Tokyo. Bye. Anybody left? Hello?
We're still on, but I think chat time is supposed to be.
Okay. So you can read the kanji and the hiragana and katakana.
It's actually hiragana. It's not kanji. Kanji are the characters, and what he's doing is.
Oh, that's right, the katakana.
Yeah.
Because it's the one that you sound out things, right?
Right, the phonetic one.
Yeah. I was a bad student.
I thought it was interesting that he had his name up in Japanese, though.
Yeah, well, I did too. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And before I saw his face, you didn't know who he was, so it was
right.
Like, well, let's see if he shows up.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I that's kind of delightful anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like how the different interests are merging here, with the dogs and the cultures and things, That's a nice Zoom.
So are you from
No, I'm my mom is from Japan, and my dad is a Japanese American. So I always say I'm like 2 Nisei and a half.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, like I said, my friend was a third generation.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a friend at UCLA who was first generation, which was kind of odd because in California at that time, most of the Japanese kids were, third. She couldn't speak Japanese. I couldn't figure out why in the world. I said, of anybody that I would think would have been taught would, and she goes, oh no. So every time we went somewhere, it was just funny, So
the first generation Japanese didn't speak Japanese?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, they did.
Well, so she was sensei then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
but the third generation didn't.
I mean, but she couldn't use chopsticks, and she couldn't speak, and so all of us used to have a really good time when we went somewhere. My best friend Naomi, and she was my first partner also. We were together 12 years. We would go to like the little Japanese restaurants in Gardena. and she wouldn't talk to them. They'd say hi to her and I'd answer back, and I'd order, and then we would be somewhere else and someone was speaking German, and so she would speak German to them. And we just like to mess with people.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
So yeah. So is there anywhere in Riverside for mochi? Mochi?
Let me think. There's a lot of little Asian stores that are popping up, especially near the university.
Mm.
So if you go into like University Village, they have some things. And then I don't know where you're in Massachusetts. So
I'm in Massachusetts, but Gardena, we used to go into Gardena and get a box.
Yeah.
And go crazy. It took me a bit. It took me a bit to get used to it, and then Yokon. I had to get used to that too. I like the one with the beans in it, not just the jelly, but Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who can't eat the sweet bean because they associate beans with salt. So when they taste the sweet bean, they're like,
I like them, the red ones and the white beans, like the mochi that's pink, it has the white bean in it. And yeah, I used to go to.
Can you get that on the East Coast? Not so much, I think.
I don't know. To be honest, I mean, when I was in upstate New York, I was traumatized because, growing up in Southern California, and we were in upstate. And so it was like, what do you call the lettuce, Joan? Iceberg lettuce.
Couldn't get it.
Thousand Island dressing, and the tomatoes they would put on it. Oh, it was just,
Yeah.
So it was like American fare, sort of like Midwestern, And so I asked people, and when I was in Syracuse, because, they're university, And I said, where can I get Japanese food, Now there was some Thai food there and some of it was good, but they said, oh, you probably have to go to Toronto. And I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me, And then, going, downtown, a little Tokyo before it got like, huh?
But I bet there were Chinese restaurants there.
Oh, Chinese.
There's Chinese restaurants everywhere, aren't there, in this country, which is interesting.
Well, the thing that's interesting too is if it's a Japanese restaurant, sometimes it's actually run by Chinese, which makes it kind of different, like down the street, there's, I forgot what it is. And they say Japanese food. And I go in and they're speaking Chinese. And now I don't know if they're the Chinese that were, that historically you never know, but yeah, I haven't found anything really.
When I lived in Detroit, there's a large Jewish population, and I used to live and work in an area that was almost entirely Jewish. And so I got really, really addicted to very good bagels, among other things. Yes. And so when I moved out here, I moved to Fresno, which is, Jewish. What is that? And I couldn't find anything resembling a good bagel anywhere, although they didn't seem to understand that those weren't good bagels. I finally found one bakery that actually made really good bagels, and it was a primarily, that was their call to fame. They made bagels, and it was owned by two guys who, one was Japanese and the other one was Mexican. So
was in Washington State. I don't remember when it was, 70s or 80s. And two of my friends from UCLA had moved up there. So Sylvie and I forgot what the other woman's name is by now, Eileen. And they said, oh, we want to take you guys out to dinner, because there was kind of a little mob of us that had gone up there. And I said, oh, okay. And we got up there and I'm like looking at one wall mural, and it's got all kinds, you know, a kind of a Japanese motif. And the other side of the restaurant, I mean, you could have cut it in half, was Greek. And I was like, and you know, it's actually not that weird, you know, because, you know, mixed marriages and stuff like that, but it was just kind of odd. And the kind of aroma that was in there between Japanese food and some of the Greek food was just, it was just kind of odd, you know, and so.
It would be.
Yeah. I don't know.
Are you a native Californian?
Yeah.
Oh, you are. Okay.
I'm an endangered species. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yes, I am. So I completely relate to everything that you said.
Yeah, right. You know,
Completely.
yeah. The Thai, there was a restaurant in Santa Monica, yeah, it was Santa Monica, West LA, that was French food. Really good French food. I mean, and not super expensive. And so I would go there after working in, I was delivering airline tickets in Beverly Hills. And so I'd go in and I would get my dessert. He would do crepes. And so I'd get my dessert one first. And it was like a chocolate mousse with some other stuff in it. And then I would get a ratatouille or something else. And he came out one day and said, why do you eat your dessert first? And I said, my job is kind of stressful and it's my reward. And he said, oh, and he was Vietnamese. And I didn't realize at the time that the French had been in Vietnam before we were, the United States. And I thought, well, this is very odd, you know? And so you know,
yep.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
In LA, on the west side. Like
on the west side.
Near Culver
Okay.
City. Yeah.
So where, close to where?
Near Culver City.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but then we moved to Anaheim in like the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Behind the orange curtain.
Yes. Infected. So.
Yeah, I grew up in Torrance, and that's because.
Oh, that's why you have your.
Yeah, Gardena, Carson, you know, Samoans, all kinds of, you know, island folk and Japanese. Yeah. And when I was at UCLA, my social group was me, Naomi, Japanese, Angie, Chinese. I forgot the other woman's name right now, Filipino, another Chinese guy. So I ran around in a pack of Asians. So yeah. There was another Okinawan that bowled with us. Her name was Debbie Gibo. And so she was actually smaller than most anybody else for some reason. And so she would kid me about, you know, being a Hokkien, you know. And we were talking and she said, oh, well, where's your mother's family from? And I said, Oklahoma. And I said, now, where are you from, Gibo? That doesn't sound totally Japanese, you know. And she said, yeah, it's Okinawan. And I said, oh, we're both Okies. And she started laughing and she said, oh my God. And I, you know, so I said, you know, us Okies got to stick together here, you know, we're in the minority. Anyway, yeah, yeah, I loved growing up in the South Bay. You know,
LA's a good place to grow up. It's so
yeah.
diverse. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You know, and you know, Meiji Market is gone. It's now, I forgot what it was.
Marukai, I think.
Yeah, Marukai. And the little lunch places are gone.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
sad.
yeah.
Oh, and what, West LA on Sawtelle? Did you? Yeah,
Yep.
that's.
Yep.
Woo.
That strip. Yeah. It's still there, but it's completely modernized.
Yeah, Tox Lawnmower is gone, and I forgot one of the other grocery stores. I loved that place. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Interesting to remember it now with you.
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Small world, right?
Well, I had been gone for so long. Gosh, I don't know how long I was gone. And then I came back to West LA for a conference, and I looked like I had just gotten off of a boat or a plane or something from somewhere else, because I'm walking around going, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
because
Well,
you know,
I hate to interrupt
break this up,
down memory lane, but chat time has been going for a while, and we should disconnect here and go over there. You're welcome to join us if you would like. Would you like to join chat time?
Now I have to panic and catch up on my work for a class I'm taking. I'm taking 2 classes. One is the compassion one, which is for the certificate. I could talk to you about, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And the other one is the circular economy, and I have to have all my work in by Wednesday. So now I gotta, now I have to work on that.
Well, we will have to talk, because we need to, among other things, we have to schedule you for your 3rd in the series on compassion.
Yes. And yeah, I've got that one to figure out. Yeah. So
For some
yeah,
point.
What's that?
We will figure that out.
We will figure that out. Yeah. Oh, and I don't, what's your first name? Bonnie?
Your internet or mine is.
What is your first name?
Yes.
Huh?
Grace.
Grace. I thought,
It's
okay,
Grace.
yeah. It was good talking with you,
Bonnie,
Grace.
Who's asking?
Kathy. Thank you. I'll let you guys go.
Thank you for sharing today.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun talking with you. All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
It's